What do you think your best skill is coming into this draft?
Definitely my defense.
Did I hear that correctly?
Definitely my defense.
Who comes to the NBA draft in Tiffany blue and declares that defense is their best skill? Well, someone who can do this, and, well, you get the idea. Evan Mobley is 7 feet of flowing limbs and, simply put, one of the best defensive prospects of this century. Take this play, for example, where Mobley's man is on the far wing, but he slides down so quickly that he's early shutting off the drive, then turns around and denies a spin at the rim. Or this play, where he switches onto the curling Kevin Huerter, who can't even get off a shot. Then Mobley bounces over into a pick and roll situation where there might have been some late miscommunication about switching, but he recovers to stay with the ball well and then turns around to just smother Cam Reddish with both hands. High-end paint protection is one thing, but what makes Mobley magical is that he can switch onto the quickest guards in the game, and they can't easily attack him in space. Guards should be jealous of Evan's fluid hips and light feet. Watch him slide with Trae Young twice here until his hips are almost facing the near sideline, but after Trae crosses, they flip to the far sideline. And count the dance steps from Mobley. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 strike points, and then he swivels into neutral, and after a brief lunge reacts quickly to stay with Trae and block it from behind with length. Whew, deep breaths. Evan's reported 7'5" wingspan gives him a little more space to sag off and react to drives, yet also surprise shooters with his closing length. His back foot is on the foul line when he leaps to block this. Those tap-dancing feet and loose hips are supercharged by great reflexes. Tyler Hero tricks him with an in-and-out dribble, but Mobley's completely recovered before Hero takes another dribble. And that's extraordinary balance to rock one way and flip back, and then he adds another to his stamp collection. Watching him play defense reminds me of this famous Bruce Lee quote.
Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot.
Mobley becomes the attack. He just bends and flows and fills up empty space against even the best penetrators. And there are times where he looks like he's mirroring a slasher, switching on to Zach LaVine here, and then moving step for step with him in a coordinated duet, even when he dances into a cross and then the hesitation and go move. And again, look at how his feet are bouncy and almost floating when he moves around a possible screen, with his left foot pivoting from the hip joint, ready to change directions, and then again there's a ton of steps before he's ready to pivot with the right foot from the hip, and that's how he sticks with the quicker LaVine. Evan's other athletic superpower is how quickly he springs off the floor without much of a load up. He's just standing in his defensive stance and then takes an elevator up to the top floor. He can also bounce off the ground quickly when sliding, taking a little hop here before leaping, and that quick load up and pounce reminds me of the godfather of defense himself, Bill Russell. Even though Mobley's only 20, these aren't merely flashes. He's generally aware of paint threats, tracking this pass and then jumping over to eliminate this infiltrator, and he has a great sense of when to help or stay home, letting Rubio stay with the ball here, only to sense danger at the last second and swoop in for the save and go recover the block himself. He's on the weak side here and could be a touch earlier, sinking down to help the helper, but he's so long he can take this shot from behind. In today's NBA, this is a defensive unicorn, a rangy defender who can lock down perimeter players and protect the paint with the best of them, and serve as a traditional backstop in a drop scheme against rolling big men, and this is all from the same game, move up higher against pick and rolls to take away pull-up jumpers with those Gumby arms. This makes Mobley one of the best first-year defenders this century, and maybe the best defensive rookie since Tim Duncan in 1998. already looking like a borderline elite defender in one-number impact metrics that blend plus-minus with tracking data. For example, no rookie has ever finished better than 7th in the 10-year history of LeBron. And it's likely Mobley will improve across the margins. He's a touch late on this rotation, but he's so gifted he can still make a play, although that doesn't happen every time. Arriving a little earlier here, but the contest is still on the side of the shooter, which leads to an easy follow. On a pick-and-roll play like this, he might be a little too glued to Rudy Gobert, and when Mobley irons out these subtle elements of the game related to positioning, timing, and everything that comes with experience, he'll be a perennial Defensive Player of the Year candidate in any decent situation. The offensive side of the ball isn't quite up to where his defense is, but there's a ton to already like there. Even as a 7-footer, Mobley has shown some range on his shot, along with dribbling and passing skills that aren't that common among centers, and to top it off, he has a post-up game closer to the goal. It's hard to really pressure teams with post-ups these days, but Mobley has 3 moves that could make him a strong weapon with his back to the basket. First, his right-handed hook shot, where he feels a little overplay and spins back to the left shoulder. That's the peanut butter to the jelly of a fadeaway over the other shoulder. His third move down there is an old school up and under, using that footwork, and despite his slim build, Evan isn't afraid of contact, banging and grinding into bulkier opponents. He can also wheel into these moves from the perimeter, which is an enticing proposition for a big man today, since attacking from the outside is such a key part of the modern game. It's unclear how valuable his mid-range shot or pull-up game will be right now, because he's hitting just 33% of his twos outside of 15 feet, and he's only made 25% of the 92 threes that he's attempted this season. I imagine his shooting form will change a good amount in the following years. Right now, it's a slow, discontinuous motion, bringing the ball over his head, then jumping and shooting it, and it takes him over a second to get comfortable and get it out of his hand in catch-and-shoot situations. Mobley doesn't need to be a great shooter, but making these at a decent percentage and volume helps him space the floor, and it expands his value as a pick-and-roll partner, complementing his roll game by popping out for threes. He's already a decent target as a roll man, with soft hands that help him as a vertical threat, and even has a little floating push shot from inside the foul line. This blends in really nicely with his short roll passing. That's a brilliant little shovel delivery, and he can also catch it on the move and skip it to the opposite side. And while he's not the fastest passer right now, he's patient, looking to punish help off the wing, then checking in the corner, which moves this defender before delivering checkmate. This play really encapsulates his passing and vision, catching it and then lobbing it into Jared Allen, which is the right play, but if he anticipates it before the ball arrives, he can upgrade a foul into a layup. Passing from around the elbow area like this is already a strong suit, and he's extremely comfortable moving it across the court to a shooter or playing the high-low game with another big. This is a perfectly placed entry with soft touch into the breadbasket. He can make connections like this on the move, and all this extra passing in the middle of the floor fits perfectly with dangerous guards who can draw double teams and in movement-heavy systems. Mobley can already pass after drawing defenders himself, which is tantalizing since most prospects need to learn these reads when a defender slides over to take away their isolation scoring. Yet, Evan's waiting for his scoring to catch up to his passing so he can demand more attention from defenses and unleash these cross-court dimes and offhand deliveries to cutters. He is comfortable putting it on the floor from the outside and looking for cracks like this, but tightening up his handle could help those quick trigger passes and add another dimension to his scoring game. This would work in conjunction with another big area he can improve, which is syncing up his dribble pickup with his strides. He gathers the ball as he's finishing a stride here, so he only gets one more step, which takes away his power and sends him off the wrong foot. And he doesn't have a strong low base, so he'll often pick it up and hop step into a move instead. This limits what he can do with those strides. There's a loose dribble that leads to a pickup, and hops like that make it a bit harder to create contact and get to the free throw line. I'm also interested to see how he carries additional weight as he fills out, since he's not a broad, explosive finisher, but he's also fairly nimble for a big man, which makes him active away from the ball in transition and in soft spots in the half court. There's a lot that has to happen for him to become an offensive star, but there are a ton of possible pathways to get there. He's dangerous away from the ball as a scorer and passer, but becoming a shooting threat would amplify those skills, and then on the ball, upgrading his penetration game would let him attack closeouts and mismatches, and we know he can already pass in those spots. Most one-number metrics already think Mobley is pretty good, and since his dad describes him as a perfectionist, I imagine improvements are coming soon to an already strong foundation. Evan's already 13th in the league in expected field goal percentage on shots that he defends within 6 feet of the basket, and given his massive potential as a defender, if he can become just an above-average offensive player, he'll make plenty of all-star games, and if he could somehow take a full leap forward on offense, Evan Mobley could become the next great two-way superstar in NBA history. To support this channel, head over to patreon.com/thinkingbasketball. We have a monthly live Q&A in our Discord community that's coming up this weekend, also additional content and proprietary stats that update daily throughout the season and the playoffs. Let me know down below what you think of the 3 big rookies this season, now that we've covered all of them. Hope you enjoyed this one all the way to the end, and as always, that you are having a great day.